Hello there, my friends. It's Tania Gabrielle here, Wealth Astrologist. Welcome to Star Codes, the podcast where we look at an upcoming event in the stars and numbers and in the Geodetic astrology, where we map the world and see where the event is taking place. The event is a solar eclipse in Virgo on September 21st at 8:54 p.m. Universal Time, and that's 3:54 p.m. Eastern Time, New York, 12:54 p.m. Pacific Time, LA. And why is this particular solar eclipse so important? Well, first of all, it happens at 29 degrees Virgo. It is the second of two Virgo new moons. So the first one was on August 23rd at 0 degrees Virgo, the very, very first degree. And this one is at 29 degrees Virgo and is a solar eclipse, so a new moon that is eclipsing the sun. And it happens on the final degree of Virgo, the 29th degree. So the sun and moon are both at 29 degrees. And what's so amazing is the previous solar eclipse happened in Aries on March 29th of this year. So it sets up a triple 29 code. 29 is a critical degree in astrology. It's always the final degree of the sign. And so it has a lot of intensity, and it reduces to 11 in numerology. 2 plus 9 is 11, and it sets up a triple 11 portal, which is all about being so present that you have no fear, no looking back, no looking forward, no worries, no guilt. You're just present to the point where everything becomes much more clear. And the self-awareness and growth is just tremendous because the light of the 11 stands for light, enlightens you. So we are going to do a couple things here. First of all, I'm going to dive into the astrology of the actual solar eclipse. And then we're going to dive into not only this solar eclipse on the geodetic map, but the last two solar eclipses. You can see how close they are and what they will intensify, so we can find the areas of the world that are major hotspots coming up, not only after the solar eclipse on September 21st, but also in the days and weeks moving into it. And I'm recording this on September 5th. On Friday, so it's a long time before we actually have the solar eclipse, but we're entering eclipse season. Sunday the 7th of September had the Pisces total lunar eclipse, which we covered in our previous Star Codes podcast, episode 311. So let's look at this Virgo solar eclipse. First of all, you'll notice that there is a kite pattern visible where the sun and moon are in Virgo at 29 degrees, and they're pointing to the conjunction between Saturn and Neptune, where Saturn is now at 28 degrees in Pisces, having just retrograded back into Pisces, and Neptune is at 0 degrees Aries on a world point. Neptune rules Pisces, so this is a very potent opposition. And the kite pattern is created because there is a grand trine between the sun and moon, and Pluto in Aquarius, and Uranus in Gemini, all of which are in retrograde. All these four slow moving planets, Pluto, Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus, are in retrograde now, which is another sign that we are totally needing to turn inward. Now, because the sun and moon are opposite Saturn, there's divine timing in play now. And since Saturn is at 28 degrees in Pisces, which is one of the critical degrees in astrology, there's a great intensity. And again, Neptune is on a world point, on an Aries point, or on a cardinal point, 0 degrees Aries, the first degree of the zodiac. And this is the connection. Saturn is conjunct Neptune, right? And they're literally at the beginning of the zodiac and the end of the zodiac opposite this eclipse. So this is a really big deal, especially because the eclipse is at 29 degrees Virgo, as I said. So sun and moon opposite Saturn is such a moment of divine timing. Saturn is Chronos, and Saturn really is asking you to focus on inner peace and stay determined on your goals. And the inner peace is Saturn in Pisces. Pisces is the sign of moving into another realm that embodies unconditional love and acceptance, and we are all one energy. And so we want to focus with Saturn in that sign for the final time in the next 30 years. We want to focus on not relying on others, but going within. Also, with any opposition, we need to focus on our relationships, bringing things into harmony, adding beauty, art, and nature and mysticism. That's due to Pisces and the Neptune impact. Now, the Sun and Moon are also trying to Uranus, and that's really vital at this time because Uranus just stationed retrograde on Friday, September 5th, the day I'm recording this. And Uranus is the final of the slow-moving planets that stationed retrograde, and it is truly an invitation to allow yourself to change, to be flexible, to make new plans, but you're turning within for answers now. Uranus is not necessarily bringing the external answers to you, but there can be external events. It's just that you need to literally get a insight that comes from inspiration in order to see how you move forward. And there's a trine to Pluto. This is all due to the kite, this grand trine. The trine to Pluto, which is in the sign Uranus rules, is really bringing deep, deep insights. It's also stimulating your confidence. It's empowering you. This is all about positive transformation. This grand trine is truly remarkable, and to have it with the solar return makes it a pivotal moment for all of us. Now, one more important transit to mention, Mars is square to Pluto, and Mars fires you up with this goal-directed energy. And Pluto and Mars are co-rulers of Scorpio. Mars is the ancient ruler, and so you literally are being asked to fire up and focus on what you desire. You can have incredible outcomes if you do that. You will have inner tension if you don't move. A square, meaning move, go into action. A square creates that inner tension in order to get you to act and not procrastinate. So put it to good use. You know, this opposition to Saturn is also about not procrastinating and really concentrating on what you want to achieve, having that goal and moving in that direction. And this solar eclipse is also reminding us, because of the degree it's at and the opposition to Neptune and Saturn, it's an invitation that's destined. Saturn makes it destined that humanity will flourish through unconditional love, Neptune, through compassion, through togetherness, and through allowing those things that seemingly divide us to be replaced by everything that unites us. So we can see the differences between us as actually a gift, as delightful, as wonderful opportunities that bring all these flavors and colors and vibrancy to our human life on Earth. So it's really quite remarkable. Remember too that September in 2025 is an 18 universal month, and that represents both Christ consciousness and unconditional love. And on the flip side, the shadow side, it represents strife and war and anger. So we are being shown both. And September is also a 999 because we're in a 9 universal year in 2025. It's the 9th month, and then 18 reduces to 9. So 9 is the last single digit in numerology. That big head on the top is either filled with wisdom and love or with ego. So Saturn's move into Pisces is self-undoing, the undoing of the ego, the release of self-centeredness, and the birth of love. Now, I talk about all these concepts in several newsletters a week that are free. So if you want to sign up to those free newsletters, just go to my website and get those tips and forecasts throughout the week. So it's time to go to the Geodetic forecast across the world. We're going to look at not only this Virgo solar eclipse, but also the 2 past solar eclipses for insights on the areas of the world that are most impacted. And the reason we're doing this is that if the last two consecutive eclipses are within 10 degrees of each other, and they are, you will see how close they are, they're much more likely to result in big events, right? And if the last two consecutive eclipses are nearly opposite each other as well, it adds another powerful punch. And one more important planetary opposition that we need to mention here, and I will look at these lines as well, is the Saturn-Neptune conjunction that's happening in late Pisces, early Aries. This also figures greatly because the eclipses are in the Virgo and Pisces axis. And one update to the last episode 311, where we covered the Pisces total lunar eclipse, we looked at the four major lines going around the world, and one of the hot spots went right through the area of Pakistan, India, and we had a terrible earthquake in eastern Afghanistan, only 80 miles from the total lunar eclipse in Pisces line. And this was before the eclipse even happened. So you can see how we need to look at the progression of eclipses over the last year to notice where the hotspots are, because really what we're moving through now with the slow moving planets having changed signs altogether in the last few months, this is unprecedented. We don't know when this last happened in our history. There's no historical context, so it truly means a new earth is being born. Birth is painful, and birth is also exhilarating and ecstatic, and we have both of these energies moving forward. So let's get started with the geodetic forecast. So here is the geodetic world map of the Virgo solar eclipse coming up on September 21st. And we are going to look at all four lines. I'm going to begin with the eclipse line that goes through North America, Central America, and along South America. And you'll see why in a moment as we go into the two previous solar eclipses as well. So here you can see the sun and moon. This is the dotted yellow line. This is the eclipse line. It goes through the Gulf and the more central states and by the area of Cancun and this whole area of Mexico, and then Central America and South America. And what strikes me is, as you can see, the Neptune and Saturn conjunction. Saturn is this more orange-brown line, and Neptune is this aqua line. They are hugging the eclipse line. And that means this is very, very potent, both for water events, storms, flooding, and this is this whole area, right? It's 500 miles in either direction. So, or earthquakes, because we have Aries involved, we have Saturn involved, and so, eclipses in general, especially when they are in mutable signs, but also if they are in Aries and Libra, which are the cardinal signs, and all these three solar eclipses we're looking at are covering all those bases, they really do trigger these big events, earth events, and storms. So we are now seeing that New Orleans and Texas and Florida and Cuba and Central America, and then all along going down Ecuador and Peru and Chile are very much impacted. So now let me bring up the most previous solar eclipse in Aries, and you can see here that the sun and moon are now much closer to Florida. This was on April 29th, 2025. And these are very important, these two previous eclipses, because they set the stage. So this goes right through the area of Tallahassee and Atlanta and up into Michigan, and then touches on Cuba, the Keys of Florida. But this whole area is totally lit up. And then we go through Panama and along this whole earthquake-prone zone. Now, I want to show you the eclipse on October 2nd, 2024. So these are the two previous solar eclipses, and you can see it's right in the same area because they are literally opposite each other. And I'm going to show you this on the map. So exactly the same area that we just covered is activated. So if you look at the map of the two eclipses, you can see their opposition. The Libra eclipse, solar eclipse, is at 10 degrees Libra. The Aries solar eclipse 6 months later in 2025 is at 9 degrees in Aries. And this is an opposition within 1 degree, which is one of the big signposts that those areas of the world are very much impacted. And we're going to look at all of them worldwide, so I'm just pointing this out. Now, I'm going to also show you a map of Tallahassee, because Tallahassee, as you can see, is one of, I could have looked at any areas, any cities, because we don't know exactly where and if any areas will be impacted. But once we do have an event, we can hone in on the city. So I'm just picking a city that's literally on the line, and so I picked Tallahassee. You can see in Tallahassee that the geodetic ascendant line is at 9 degrees in Aries, and it's opposite to the 10 degrees in Libra is opposite this geodetic ascendant, and both lunations are right on the angle. And when lunations fall near an angle, that is one indication. These are the 4 angles going north and south. So now let's look at the other parts of the world in terms of the Virgo and the 2 previous solar eclipses. So let's move to Europe, and we see here that the Virgo eclipse is this dotted yellow line. There is Saturn, right, hugging, and Neptune. Saturn is, of course, now in Pisces. Neptune is still in Aries. This is a Virgo eclipse, and it goes right through the western part of France into Spain and then into Western Africa, and also impacts England. And again, this whole area would be, so all of Great Britain and France and Spain and even Portugal and the Mediterranean are activated. So then we move to the most recent solar eclipse in the past. And here now the line has moved to the east. This is the one that took place on March 29th, 2024. This is the eclipse, the yellow line, and it is much closer to Italy. Here I can hone in. The line is just impacting this whole area here, going up into Switzerland, near Austria, Germany, and Belgium, Netherlands, France. Very much the Mediterranean basin, all impacted. We have lots of earthquake activity here already in play. And remember, we have both water events due to Neptune, and we also have this eclipse. So it can cover both earthquakes or storms or water events in this case. And then finally, look how close the Libra solar eclipse. Here's the Libra solar eclipse line, literally just 1 degree later. And here we see the same areas impacted, going up into Denmark and Norway as well, and into Africa. There we go. We see the whole line here going along the coast. All right, then we move over. Let's bring this Virgo eclipse up again and move over to the next area of the world. So we see here Russia and moving south into China. Let me make the map a little larger here so you can see Russia. Here's the Virgo eclipse, the one that's coming up on September 21st, the yellow line. There's Saturn, there's Neptune, big activation here in these exact same lines that we covered also in the Pisces lunar eclipse. If you remember, it goes right through China there and into Bangladesh and near India, right? This is a powerful area into the Indian Ocean. And then let's bring the most recent eclipse. So here the line moves over to the east and it covers Mongolia and then China and goes into Southeast Asia, down into Malaysia, into the Indian Ocean. And so this area is truly impacted because the Libra solar eclipse, the one that was in October 2024, you can see here is the line again, so close, right? It's the same area that's impacted right there. Okay, and then we move to the final Virgo eclipse line, and this is right at the end of Eastern Russia, going into the Pacific and then skirting down near the North Island of New Zealand. So New Zealand is impacted by all of these lines. So then we go to the Aries eclipse that happened prior to this Virgo solar eclipse that's upcoming. The Aries eclipse on the 29th of March goes through Eastern Russia and then skirts through the Bering Strait, approximately the Aleutian Islands of Alaska, and into the Pacific to the west of the Hawaiian Islands, down into Polynesia. Okay, so, and then finally the Libra annual eclipse, the solar eclipse, October last year, same area, as we can see. And what's amazing too is we had a major earthquake in Alaska recently, 7.4 I believe, and that huge earthquake off the Kamchatka Peninsula that set off many quakes. And these are both very, very close to the eclipse line that is here. So we can see that eclipses impact us prior and after their exactitude. Now, I want to point out there are obviously other transits, other planets transiting, especially Uranus and Pluto. We always want to keep our eyes on. So they are also around, but we're not going to look at them in this forecast. What I will do is, as events progress, we will look at all the lines involved. I just want to point out that the solar eclipses are so important. They really give an indication of major changes that are developing. And remember, when we look at these eclipses as they are bunching in certain areas, they're also being supported by these other lines. Neptune and Saturn are so close to the eclipse lines, as you know. And here's the Virgo eclipse that's about to happen. It's a huge conglomeration of planets with an eclipse. So we can see there is an activation. And when it is so intensified, there's bound to be a development of some kind, whether it's an earth event, a weather-related event, a political event, or other kind of event. So let's keep our eyes, let's keep our focus, let's keep things calm. We know now where the events take place. The more we go within, the more we help to calm down the energy. And that is really so important to remember, that we play a role. We are co-creators of this energy, and the energy is just asking us to pay attention. So when we see these maps, we are not meant to be in fear. We're just meant to feel prepared and also to understand, which is why I do the astrology forecast, of what it is that we need to look at, right? What fears do we need to tame or confront and relax about, and look within about, well, what is causing that fear? It's totally irrational to be afraid of the future or to be caught up in the past, in memories and guilt trips. So these are all opportunities for us to confront and then heal these parts of our lives. So this is why I feel geodetic forecasts on the map are helpful as well, because we can tune in to the flavor, the area, the kind of event, and then help and send energy and help heal whatever needs to be healed, whether it was a past karmic pattern in that area or whatever the case may be. We can partake in the co-creation of beauty and love and awakening on this earth. So you can see there was so much to cover here in terms of the intensifications in certain parts of the world. In the same way as we just looked at the earth, we can discover your best locations in the world or difficult areas to live and visit. And I absolutely love giving astrocartography readings where I cover not only your main lines, but your Paran latitude lines, your local space lines, which can hone in very specifically even on the neighborhood level, and current transits and progressions. How do they impact you now around the world? Cyclocartography is amazing in helping you make decisions about when to travel or when to move. So if you're interested in a reading, just go to taniagabrielle.com and click on the readings drop-down menu at the top of the website. Now you can also discover a lot more about the magic of astrocartography in the free masterclass. It's instant access. AstroCartography, the Power of Fortunate Places. Watch it now at positivelocations.com. We cover all the components of astrocartography that relate to your career, relationships, abundance, health, family, and friends. Numerous celebrity astrocartography examples to bring it all to life for you, and a common mistake that people make if you go online and look for your lines, what is being left out. So have a look at this free masterclass. It's instant access at positivelocations.com. Meanwhile, have the most beautiful eclipse season. Have an amazing Pisces total lunar eclipse, and then 2 weeks later, an absolutely magnificent, inspiring Virgo solar eclipse at 29 degrees Virgo, the second new moon in Virgo. So many new beginnings, opportunities here for us, and growth opportunities and vibrant awakening opportunities. So I send you so much love and look forward to seeing you in our next video.